Hi, Jan. It's so nice to see you again. I am so excited to do this third video of our series on taking the stress out of weight loss. How are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm thinking the same thing, that it's a good time to summarize what we were focusing on in those first two videos.
Yeah, yeah. In the first
I'll
video, we really,
wrap it up and convert it into some action steps.
yeah, yes. I think that's going to be really key. There's so much good information that we shared, but like you always say, it's really hard to take those concepts. We often attach them to other things. So sometimes we resist those concepts. So to put them into some action steps is really the whole point of this.
Yeah, it's a good way to, like we said at the end of the last video, don't take our word for this. Try it for yourself,
Mhm.
find your own way. But getting specific about some action steps is a good way to set people up to go out and do that.
Yes.
Try it for yourself and see what you find.
Yeah. Yeah. We have three action steps. But let's talk about um, the first video. We really talked about this difference between the externals and the internals. Like, do I track and really go, all like logical, tangible stuff and track calories and all of that? Or is the intuitive eating, mindful eating, don't track anything, just do what you feel kind of thing? And we really talked about how to blend those two and find your own balance between how much tracking do you need and how much intuitive do you need, how to find that balance.
Yeah, yeah. Um, the way I think of it is it's this freedom we now get to experience. It's like being able to escape the either or
Yeah.
mindset. Either I can go full tilt, I'm tracking everything and thinking about everything constantly, or over here I'm not, I'm just doing whatever I feel. And
Yeah.
uh but it's very much a dichotomy, and that's neither one on its own, in my opinion, works anywhere near as well as finding a way to accommodate both of those.
Yeah. And
And
everyone's different in that.
yeah,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So some amount of external
Mm.
measurement in some way seems to be helpful for most people,
Yeah.
but if it's all that, then it becomes this kind of regimen, or it's a plan, and then now
Yeah.
you've left your body and your feelings out of it,
Mm.
and
Yeah.
then, which is the intuitive part, and it's like
Yeah.
that's not gonna work, because your
Right.
body, it's like, as one of my, favorite people, Judd Brewer, mentions, your feeling body is smarter and stronger than your thinking brain.
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
wow. So
Yeah.
you have to take this into account, uh,
Mm.
but you don't want to just fall into it and get lost in it.
Yeah.
It can feel really good over there.
Do whatever you want. It's
Indulgence,
okay. So,
yes.
which kind of can make us feel anxious, like
You're
there's
being
no
good to
ground.
yourself. You deserve this.
Right.
Well, don't
Right.
deprive yourself and
Yeah.
just celebrate, have fun.
Yeah. And meanwhile, we have this little voice that says, if I do that, I'm going to go off the rails. So even if
Yes.
we, get a lot of messaging about that, we still have this little voice that says, yeah, but I still have to be hard on myself. And how do we find that balance between the two? We talked about how important mindfulness and self-compassion are together
Yeah.
to find that balance, to be present with kindness so
And
you can really decide.
yeah, I think that's what scares people about going into
Hmm.
things like mindfulness,
Yeah.
intuitive eating, or, into your feelings in
Yeah.
general, is
Yeah.
that, I mean, we have a brain for a reason. We need it.
Hmm. Yeah.
Uh, so that little voice that's saying, wait a minute,
Yeah.
it's like, listen to that little voice because it's
Yeah.
right. You
Right.
can't just go off the deep end over here.
Right. Although that little voice has been told that you need to be hard on yourself, you need to suffer to get results
Yes,
because
yes,
that's how we get external results. Like, and I said to you before, one of my clients brought up the quote from Oprah saying, why can I be so successful in every other part of my life, but not in weight loss? And I
yes,
think it's because in every other part of our life, success is externally measured. So we do have to kind of push and go through some discomfort to get to that goal. But when we're trying to be healthy, that discomfort is a stress state and it's going to take us out of health. And so anything we're doing for our health needs a whole different mindset than something that we're doing to achieve an external success, like a degree or a promotion or something like that. But
Yes,
we've been told, like that no pain, no gain. I can't tell you how many people I tell that soreness is not helpful and they can't, it blows their mind. They've been told and convinced themselves, oh, I feel sore, but it's good. I feel, it makes me feel good. I feel like I'm making progress.
yes,
And when I tell them that soreness does not mean that, our logical brain has been convinced that soreness is good.
yes,
But our body is telling our survival brain that soreness is not good. And it's the reason we struggle with exercising.
yes,
100% that what we've been told in our brain. So I think we do have to kind of question what we believe
yes.
in our logical brain, right? About
Here's what
how I have to be hard on myself.
you said something, yes, and that's to me, a whole lot of the joy of working with you is we're putting things out there that are these beliefs or
Yeah.
assumptions or whatever. And what I was saying when you listen to that little voice, it's not the message. I have to be hard on myself to be
Mm,
successful. That it's a different message when you're not in the extreme, when you're
mm,
right here in the both and
mhm.
of it. It's
Yeah.
let's just say it's like, I need to this helps me be aware. I need to be
Yeah.
accountable. I need some way of
Mm,
measuring, or it's almost like
mm,
I need some kind of safety so I know where I'm at. Did I go too far?
mm. Yeah.
Um, you see, to me, that's a different message than I have to be hard on myself. That somehow when we
Yes.
translate it here in the middle, it doesn't translate as, "I have to be hard on myself."
Mm,
It's something else, and I'm even struggling for what would that sound like? What would those words be? Maybe
yeah.
what I just said? I hope
Yeah.
so.
It's a different feeling. And I think that's why in the second video we really honed in on that self-compassion because it was the game changer we talked about, right? Like
Yeah,
if it makes the difference between if what you're doing is force or it makes you feel better now and it's based on what you feel rather than I have to make myself, I need someone to make me do it. That force mindset really takes us away from being healthy and self-motivated, but that feeling kindness, responding with kindness. And that's when we talked about self-compassion in depth in that second video, I think we really hit home that that's the game changer. That's what makes the difference between I have to be hard on myself versus, oh, what am I feeling right now? What's going on?
yeah. I have a small example that might fit with that. See what you think about this.
Yeah.
One of the things that I've been experimenting with is, in the old days, it would be trying to restrict
Mm,
how much I would take in. So it's like kind of measuring it out. Now, this is all you can have.
mhm,
Um, but lately, what I've been playing with is just go ahead and okay. Let's give this as an example. Let's say if I want to
mm,
make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich,
yeah,
um, okay. I'm not really sure if I want a whole sandwich or a half sandwich. So, you know
mm,
what? Just make the half sandwich. And you can have more if you want it, but just go
mm,
ahead and eat the and you won't really know till you get to the end of that, and then
yeah,
it's okay to go back and get some more. It's kind there's such a
yeah,
taboo to go back a second helping, you know what?
right.
Oh my god. I mean,
Yeah,
that is such a rule to break. You do not,
yeah.
but
You've
so
been
it's
told
yeah, so I'm
that's
just
not
doing
good.
it on my own,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
it's like, "No, just go back in the kitchen and get some more if you'd like."
yeah,
Granted, if you're out eating somewhere, that may not be so easy to do, but
yeah.
that's okay. I can experiment with that at home,
Mm,
and there's another piece to that. So in other words, sometimes it's like, "No, that was about right." And then
yeah,
other times it's like, "No, I'm gonna go back and get some more." And then there's
mm,
this third place of, "Well, my taste buds are saying yes, but my
mm,
stomach is not I don't know. I'm not quite sure." So and then there is where there's an opportunity for a pause, wait 5
mm,
minutes, you can still have it. Just give yourself time, be kind to yourself,
Right,
give your
right.
whole body
Yeah,
time to figure out
right.
what is about right here.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's is that what we're talking about, that example?
Yeah, and it sounds like the shift is trusting the feeling. You're trusting the feeling of hunger versus the external um, template of this is how much I'm supposed to eat. It's
Yeah.
going into that internal feeling rather than forcing your body to be into a certain amount of food when the feeling might be saying, I'm hungry, or I'm not really hungry. I just, maybe I'm tired. Maybe I'm lonely. Maybe I'm, scared, whatever it is. What are the reasons I'm eating? What's the feeling
Yeah.
versus the external, someone told me I should do this.
Yes, and then I'll argue it the other way too, or maybe this is the same thing. I don't know. I'll share this, but one of the things I really appreciate from my Weight Watchers days
Yeah.
is you get really good at kind of measuring, getting a
Mm,
sense of. But I still measure a lot of stuff. Now, when I first
yeah.
started Weight Watchers, there is no way you could have made me. I am not doing that. And
Wow.
people react that way.
Yeah.
When my husband got diabetes and he said I hauled him over to Weight Watchers because he needed to deal with this, it's like, okay, I'll show up, and track my weight, but I'm not tracking my no, I am not doing that.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
lots of people that I am not doing that. But for me, that measuring, I kinda like to know. It's
Mm,
almost like a recipe in a way, like, I like a tablespoon of jelly on my peanut butter and jelly sandwich. I know that, you know what I'm so it's
mm.
a way of kind of
Yes.
measuring, and there's a self-compassion part in that this is what I like, you know? But
Yes.
it's also helping me I just like knowing. It gives me some
Mm,
sense of boundaries
yeah.
of, that, here's an ounce of chips or whatever it is you're
Yeah.
going to eat. I
Yeah.
just like knowing that it helps that part of me over here that is
Right.
structured, and that measuring helps.
Mm, yeah. Yeah. I think it's such a personality thing, right? To know yourself. Like I have a client who just said to me, I count my steps just because numbers make me feel calm. And I was like, oh, numbers make me feel like, oh, like to me personally, like in my head, I'm thinking, oh, me personally, numbers make my brain go all wet, you know? But
Yeah,
for her, numbers calm her down. And she knows that about herself. And she's using numbers to be kind to herself
yes.
versus in the past when we first started working together she was using numbers to be really rigid and force a certain step
That's
count
beautiful.
and so she's still using numbers but
Oh my
now
god.
she recognizes it as calm rather
Yes.
than it's stressful and that was it was like you said freedom liberating for her to say
Oh my
I
goodness.
choose this, right? I choose to count the numbers because I like the way I feel when I have the numbers, just like I like the way I feel when I know I've got a tablespoon. I like the way I feel. And that feeling versus force, like, you know, if someone's saying you have to measure, that's an external force. This ties into that self efficacy that we were just talking about, which is like, I think the crux of all of this.
And
You could
this
go through a lot of weight loss. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
yeah, this is just a brainstorm I just had. This is a committee
Yeah.
members in your head thing.
Oh,
But it's like,
yes.
really, what we're talking about is one of the ways I've heard it described is it's not so much what you're telling yourself, it's
Mm.
who's saying it. Which committee member
Oh, I
in your
love that.
head is saying it? And that
I love
example you
that.
just gave is beautiful because it's
Yeah.
like if the committee member in your head, let's say your inner pusher or your inner
Mm.
perfectionist is counting those
Yeah.
steps, okay? There's
Right.
a certain feel in your body. But let's say if
Yes.
it's just this kind of friendly, helpful person over here
Yeah, yeah.
and they're counting and it's calming,
Mhm.
you know what I mean? That's so what's fascinating to me is if you look at the external behavior, it could look exactly the same,
Mm.
and yet over here you're suffering under the whip
Yes.
of a, slave driver,
Right.
committee member,
Yes.
but over here you're being supported and, loved.
Yeah. Yeah.
And from the outside, it might look it's same thing, but
Yeah.
boy, the feel is totally different, and I know it feels different inside, but I have a sense
Yeah.
too that to some extent, people may pick up on your energy when you shift into what she's doing now with that
Mhm.
kindness steps,
Yep.
counting steps with kindness.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, hopefully people can sense that from you too, though,
Yeah.
that's doing something different. And what is it? And it looks really interesting, and I'd like to know more.
Yeah. Hopefully they do. Remember the example I gave about when I my chocolate cravings went away because I used self-compassion, and they really went away, and people would say to me, "Oh, you're being so good." And I could not convince them that my cravings when they couldn't believe that I just didn't
Yeah,
want chocolate. And so sometimes people don't get it, but then some people are like, "Oh, that's so interesting," and they wanted to hear more. And I think it could have led into a lot of frustration when people weren't really getting that my intention wasn't that. Like, I really wanted people to understand that, no, I wasn't being good. This wasn't a judgment thing. This was truly, I don't want it. It was really interesting. And I think that it's just, I think we have to be ready for both, right? It's nice when people have that curiosity of, oh, that's so interesting. You seem different. This seems so much better. And I know you've said that too. Like, people have commented on that. I've had clients say that. You seem so much calmer. That's a
yes.
nice
Or I
compliment.
guess like one of the things about trusting the process, that we've talked
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
is I think part of it is you'll just be drawn to work with somebody on something,
Mm,
and it doesn't necessarily have anything to do with their credentials or their
yeah.
experience
Mm,
or, their training.
mm,
There's just something about them, you can sense it. They've got
mm,
something going on here that I I
mm,
I sense that this has something to offer me, and you're drawn to
mm,
and, that's what I hope is
yeah.
happening when we're communicating
Yeah.
these kinds of even if it doesn't make sense or it just
Right.
sounds completely off the
Yeah.
rails.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Kinda
Yeah.
like, "Yeah, but there's some kinda crazy wisdom going on there,"
Mm.
and I get drawn in to learn more about it.
People can sense when you have this calm confidence about something, when it's just like, this is just peace. This
Yeah,
is just, and that self efficacy, right? I think that's really, um, I've seen a lot of people who have been struggling with their weight for a long time, and what they've lost is self efficacy, belief that they can do it.
yeah, yeah,
And we have to establish that first before they do anything else. They need those three components of self efficacy, which is choice. It needs to be a choice, not forced. It needs to be, they need autonomy. They need relatedness. It needs to be connected to what's important to them. And they need that sense of embodied confidence. Like, I can do this. I
yeah,
physically can do this. There's things that I can do to help myself. And I think that that gets eaten away every time you quote unquote fail, right? Every time you do a diet and then you regain weight, every time you
yeah,
and I say quote unquote fail, I love the acronym fail, first attempt in learning. If
mhm,
we make it about learning, then what did I learn from that time? And how can
yeah,
I then use kindness to apply that and be kind to myself? What was missing? So we have these three steps that we want to really share to build that self efficacy back up.
yeah, that is just beautifully put. I'm so glad you're saying that because, and I don't even know if I get all of what you just said, but boy, it's certainly something I wanna take away and think about more because I somehow, even though I just sense it, yeah, it just eats away at
Yeah.
your trust in yourself,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
That's really the biggest thing.
there's something about being able to work with a craving like you were talking about,
Mm,
um
yeah.
that, it's, um it's coming from choice or you're trusting
Mm,
yourself, that's just a whole different thing than being good, it's just in that whole other land.
yeah. It really is. And being good can lead to substitutions for cravings, which doesn't really get to the root of the craving. Like, I could have a sugar free popsicle to satisfy a sweet craving, but it doesn't get to the root of why I'm
Yeah,
craving sweets,
yeah,
which is usually emotional and some need is not filled. Like, I'm lonely or I'm tired or something. When we
yeah,
treat the root, the craving kind of goes away.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Um, I have a question. I'm assuming that it's not like a craving once you've gotten through it and it went away, that
Mhm.
doesn't mean it's fixed and it's never going to come back or
Yeah.
you'll never have to deal with it again. Is that
Yeah.
a valid because I think that's
Yeah.
I could see that being scary for some people to hear that,
Right.
"Oh my god, her cravings went away. Oh my
Yeah.
god, that sounds great, but that could never happen to me." Or, "What
Yeah.
if I try it, but it's like, no, it wasn't that
Yeah.
easy for me," or, "Okay, that worked for a while, and then I kinda slipped back in," and
Right. So, like Kristen Neff says, you don't want to use self compassion to fix it. You're using self compassion because you feel bad, not to feel better. And I think when I did the chocolate craving, it was because I was craving chocolate because I didn't like the feeling of the craving. I didn't like that I
ah,
had emotions and chocolate was the craving. Does that
hmm,
make sense?
I think so. Keep going, and
Yeah.
I'll see if I'm with you
And
or not.
so I did the self compassion because I didn't like that feeling of wanting to deal with emotions with chocolate. I wanted to enjoy the chocolate, but I didn't want to need the chocolate to serve the emotion, to fill the emotion. And
Okay?
so it was, oh, I'm feeling anxious, I'm wanting chocolate. I was compassionate for the feeling,
Yes.
not to not want chocolate.
I'll just put s I if you I'll put something out here, I'll try to be
Okay.
brief. See if this is what you're saying, I think. One of my things is or where I've had the most trouble with cravings lately
Mm.
is eat nighttime eating, eating after
Yeah.
supper, between
Yeah.
supper and going to bed, and I usually go
Mm.
to bed pretty late, like 11 is would be early for me, you know?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if we eat at, 6 or 7, uh,
Mm.
and then there's just this awful thing of immediately we sit
Mm.
down for TV or something, and it's like, "Oh my god, when can I have this?" Or, "I wish I could have
Yeah.
that," and the restriction, and actually, I had did this crazy thing, and I don't know if this is I don't have enough data yet
Yeah.
to,
Yeah.
rest solidly on this, but I remember reading a little thing a while back about if you want a nighttime or bedtime snack or later evening
Yeah.
snack, here are things that are actually good to eat, and there were some crazy things on there,
Mm.
like
Mm.
cereal with milk or a turkey sandwich
Yeah.
or, you know
Yeah.
oh, here's what I felt so much more peace. When I
Ah.
started doing this, it's like
Yeah.
I'd be sitting there and it's like, "Well, okay, I want something, uh, but you're not hungry yet. Okay, well, I can wait till I'm hungry. Okay, I'm hungry now." And it's like,
Yeah.
"Well, just have some popcorn or just get a" but there's only certain things should you
Mm.
have.
Yeah.
Make it something light and snacky, or, "Hey, if you didn't have dessert, you can have something sweet or whatever." And then when I really just kinda,
Mm.
like, rested into it, it's like I want half a pimento cheese sandwich is what I want,
Yeah.
and maybe some
Yeah.
chips on the side.
Mm.
So I went in and I got that and I ate it, and I felt so at peace. On
Wow.
and it's like and this would have been, like,
Yeah.
at least 10 or 11 o'clock at night, and I thought, "Well, I hope I don't regret this," or, "It's in your stomach,
Yeah.
it's not gonna digest," or you're gonna feel and it's like the next day I felt great,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's I'm too early on experimenting with this yet, but
Right.
as I continue to work with it, yeah, there's some things I've kinda screwed up, like, "Okay, that wasn't good." That second glass of wine, okay,
Mm.
not good, you know? But other nights, a second glass of wine was okay. So I'm
Yeah.
kinda like, "Hey, there's a way to scope that out." But
Yeah.
it's just this I'm like, you aren't following the rules, Jan.
Mm.
There's a way to do this. You can't eat a sandwich. What are you
Apparently you
talking about?
can.
There
Yeah.
it felt so peaceful and so good,
Ah.
and I'm headed toward this, so we'll see, but, like, gosh, I could imagine being able to sit down and we get to enjoy our TV from
Yeah.
7 to 11,
Yeah.
and I might actually be at peace.
Wow.
Who knows?
Wow. Because you're experimenting and trust it sounds like you're really the experimentation mindset versus forcing and resisting and all of that. is leading to calmer, and you get to enjoy that time of sitting, you know, with someone you care about and enjoying that time rather than having that internal argument that whole time. Like that's
Well,
whole person.
all
That's what
those
this is all about.
rules.
Yeah.
There's
That they're
this massive
exhausting.
set of rules. Don't eat after 7, you
Who
know?
says that? I don't even think there's really good solid evidence against that.
Well,
I really don't.
thank you for saying that, 'cause that's been
Yeah.
drummed into me from so
Yeah.
many.
I
Don't eat
know.
after 7, or if you do, make it, I don't know, a glass of water
Yeah.
with some
And
lemon in it, or have
yeah.
1 peanut, or
Yeah. And you're laying in bed starving and your body is telling you that you're hungry. You're physically hungry,
well well,
but you think, "Oh, I can't eat after 7."
part of it is not hungry, it's just
Yeah.
craving.
Yeah.
Because I
Right.
feel, I guess, restricted. I can't have it,
Mm,
so guess what? I want it.
right.
So
That's
part
key.
of it,
That sounds really like an important piece. I want it because I can't have it. What if you can't have it? Then you might not want it
yeah, you kinda relax. It's like,
or as much.
"Jan,
Yeah.
you can have it if you want it." It's like,
Yeah.
I don't care what time it is or what it is, it's
Yeah.
this. You don't
Okay.
have to go into the land of restriction every day,
Yeah.
7 p.m. till midnight.
Yeah. Yeah. No, thank you. We've all been there, right? We've all played that game, that restriction game. So that really lowers self-efficacy because the first thing for self-efficacy is a sense of choice, autonomy. Restriction takes away a sense of choice. So just by experimenting and listening and trusting your body, you have established that first foundation of self-efficacy again, which is having a sense of choice there. I choose to have this sense of boundary, not restriction forced, but I choose to have this boundary because it's making me feel calm. Just like my client, I choose to count my steps because it's making me feel calm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Well, again, this is evolving. It's so early on that I
yeah,
don't,
yeah,
I can't wait to share more about this, but it
yeah.
just was stunning to me. It's just like
Right.
dazzling, like, wow,
Isn't,
I think I might be onto something.
and it sounds like it makes this whole process fun and engaging and kind of, you know, almost like
A
a
little
game
exciting.
almost, or just,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a little exciting because it's like, whereas if you were restricted, you'd be like, I'm on a diet, but you're like, oh, this is kind of fun and exciting to stay curious. And that's such a key element of mindfulness and presence,
Yes.
is
Sure. Yeah.
just to be present and notice and like, how fun. Isn't that exciting, Jan? I love that. And
Yeah.
the fact that you're like, I don't know yet. Like, we don't have to arrive. This is just a process. It's always a process. There's always going to be things that we want to learn from.
Yes. And if I was going to say something like in conclusion, or kind of as we're heading into wrapping up
Yeah,
here, I
yeah,
feel like that really what I'd like to set for 2024, as far as what
mm,
we're doing with these
yeah,
videos, it's almost like our agenda, all it has to be is we just show up and what
yeah,
have I been working on? And
yeah,
what have you been working on? We're
yeah,
comparing notes, and we're
yeah,
just sharing this journey, and this
yeah,
self-discovery with
yeah.
others. That's really almost, in a nutshell, what we're doing.
Right. Yeah, we're really, we do it ourselves. We do this stuff, and this is how we're learning ourselves, but also from clients and patients. And, it's all just this fun learning of exploring a whole new way to feel good about this.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. I'd love to walk through those 3 steps and even
sure.
walk through it physically because, like we were talking about before, we can get caught in this very cognitive trying to think our way into this. And like we said, you got to try this, you got to do it, but it has to be embodied because I
Yeah,
think when we start thinking our way through these, it's not going to work. It needs to be something that we feel in our body. Um,
yeah,
so I'd love to walk through those 3 steps. And then, if you're watching this video, just try it. Just try these 3 steps. And the 3 key elements are presence, kindness, and trust. Those are the 3 steps to embody those and try them and see if it works for you.
yeah,
Yeah. And by
yes.
works, I mean feel better, feel more free, feel calmer, feel more confident.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it feels really, really good.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. So that first step is just get your body in a position where you're present. So like embody presence. Like you might notice, oh wow, I'm like this. And I'm kind of, I'm kind of looking forward, like getting your body in that present, open, aware position of alignment where you're just kind of like, okay, here I am. I'm standing on my own 2 feet. I'm just here. I'm present, and
Yes.
get your body in the present moment. Bring your attention back to your body. And then that second step is, all right, here's what I'm feeling. Okay, that doesn't feel good. You respond with kindness rather than resisting it. Like, oh, I'm having a craving and I really don't want to be, Oh, I'm feeling this conflict. Okay, what could I do to help?
Mhm.
And that meeting yourself where you are with kindness opens it up to thinking maybe other options out of that critical loop. And that, to me, feeling your breath reminds you to be kind inside. Like your breath is always there taking care of you. It doesn't care really what you're thinking. It might change with your thinking, but it's always there just taking care of you, ebbing and flowing. And it reminds us that we can then trust that our body and brain are working together for us to survive and thrive. And so
Yes.
we can just kind of like, okay, here's what I'm feeling. And here's the key. Like, oh, I'm feeling that tension. I'm feeling that resistance. I'm feeling that self criticism in my body. I've got to get that out of my body through some mindful movement before my brain can even think of what to do next. So kind of trusting that feeling, and then like, okay, let me just kind of, or even just squeeze your muscles and release them, or anything. Help your body use up that ready to move tension. Now you can pause and say, okay, what would how am I going to respond to this, not react?
Yes. I would say from an action step, that's my number one action
Mm,
step right now is,
yeah.
uh, is the pause,
Mm, mine
um,
too.
and building that into my day,
Mm,
and, sometimes I'm more on it and other times I'm not, but it just keeps coming back as a theme. It's almost like the key
mm,
to everything you just
mm,
said. It's like if you just have come into a pause, whether you start in your body or you
yeah.
just, tell yourself, "I'm taking a pause here," and then you check in,
Mm,
um, that's really the point of power, I think.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So that would be my action step for right now is pause, finding
Yeah.
ways to do that. Either, I just or, because I keep practicing, it's starting to happen more, or I'm reminding myself in some way.
Yes. Yeah.
External. I'm using both, internal and external.
I love that. That was what I was going to ask you, is how do you remember? Because a lot of people say to me, like, I go through my day and then all of a sudden at the end of the day, I thought I didn't stop all day. But I like how you're saying use the external little alarm or something. And the internal, what's the internal for you that is your reminder to pause?
Because I've dedicated myself to
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
practices and using external reminders or whatever, external is there to, put myself in that place. That's really nice. But, like I said, it does become more natural, more
Mm,
part of me, and
mm,
here's why. Because the few times I have done it, it's like it makes such a difference.
mm.
It's like, "Oh my god, here's what you really needed to do. You just
Yeah.
needed to pause and take a nap
Yeah.
or, relax for, 5 minutes or do some stretching." That's
Yeah.
when I actually do the
Yeah.
body, whether it's some mobility or it's resting, generally it's,
Mm,
something like that, or a
yeah.
few push-ups at my, countertop.
Yeah.
That is trusting in the process
Mm,
because I'm doing it and I'm seeing the results and it's like, "Wow, that
yeah.
felt better," or, "Wow, who would have known that that's what you needed?" Because
Yeah.
my inner pusher would be telling me something totally different to do.
Right. Right.
Yeah,
What I love is that you're ending with a pause. You're starting with a pause and ending with a pause. Like you're doing that pause. Okay, what do I need? Okay, now I take action. And then you're pausing at the end too. And that's that habit loop, like pausing. Oh,
yes,
how'd that feel? Okay, I want to repeat that. And so these three
yeah,
skills, presence to make it a sense of choice, kindness so that it's related to what's important to you, how you feel right now, and then trust to build that sense of confidence is reinforced by that pausing again to say, "Oh, that felt good." I want to do that
Yeah.
again. And that's
Here
how
the
it becomes that habit. Yeah.
yeah, here are the results that I got, and your
Yeah.
brain picks up on that, and it's
Good.
like, "Oh,
Yeah.
cool, let's do that again."
Yeah.
Then it can become more and more natural.
Yeah.
I don't think you could have put it any better.
You too,
I
Jan.
love what you just said.
I love what you just said. That example is so
Yeah,
perfect. It's
okay.
such a perfect example. There's no formula. Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you, Jane, for
Yes.
sharing this
Well,
wisdom and
I'm so glad we did
insights.
this. I know, it's always wonderful every time, so thank you so much.
It is. I can't wait till the next one, like always.
Yeah, yep, and we'll just check in and see what's going on
Perfect.
and examine it and share it.
Sounds good. Perfect. Awesome.
Okay,
Thanks, Jan.
super. Okay, thank you. Bye, Janet.
Bye.